It is Sunday the 19th of September 2021. I'm here at the Unitarian Church of Montreal, resuming my protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse and other injustices and abuses, some of them related to clergy abuse, others quite separate. But amongst the other injustices and abuses related to clergy abuse is the cover-up and denial of clergy abuse by the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, by the Unitarian Church of Montreal, by individual Unitarian Universalists, including Côte-des-Neiges Notre-Dame-de-Grâce Borough Mayor and former Deputy Mayor of Montreal, Sue Montgomery. This is my first protest back at the Unitarian Church of Montreal for quite some time. I was arrested on trumped-up criminal harassment charges. I had court conditions placed on me, preventing me from coming to the church and protesting. I was able to get those court conditions modified and reduced to allow me to resume my protest in mid-February of 2018. I resumed my protest. But then in September of 2018, I was arrested again on additional criminal harassment charges and breach of conditions charges. And so I was not able to protest here since, well, I guess it's 2 years. It's like September 2018. Oh, maybe is it 3 years? Let's see, September 2018 to 19 to 20 to 21. That's 3 years where I have not been able to protest against clergy abuse in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, thanks to Montreal Unitarian clergy abuse cover-up enabler Sue Montgomery falsely accusing me of criminal harassment, not to mention the Crown falsely accusing me of breach of conditions, when as far as I was concerned, I was acting within my conditions. And a Superior Court judge agreed with me on Friday. On Friday, a Superior Court judge, Myriam Lachance, ruled that in fact Quebec Court Judge Dennis Galiatis had overstepped his bounds, had effectively, she didn't say this in her words, but in my words, he had jumped through a bunch of hoops to find me guilty. In other words, he was predisposed to finding me guilty of breach of conditions and found arguments to do so, rather than looking at the overall picture and the evidence and so on. So I was acquitted on Friday morning by Quebec Superior Court Judge Myriam Lachance. So all conditions are gone. I no longer have a criminal record. I'm back to being a free man, as it were. I'm innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt again. The Crown is seeking a retrial. They want to try me for criminal harassment again. They're most welcome to do so if they want. I'm only too happy to have a retrial. But for the interests of other people who may find themselves in similar situations, I'm doing this by the book, and I am appealing the decision for retrial with my excellent appeal lawyer, appellate lawyer, Mary Springate. She's a very good lawyer. She's represented me very well. She's very conscientious. She's won a few victories now, including the one on Friday. So we're not doing too badly on the appeals side of things. But if we go to the appeals court and they order, uphold the retrial order, well, fine, we'll have a retrial down the road a bit, I guess. But it's going to take some time, for that to happen. Anyway, I was, I basically did an impromptu video right off the bus. Wasn't displaying my picket signs. The camera overheated and ended the video recording, so I decided to let it cool off a bit, set up my picket signs, take some photos, and while I was doing so, an elderly couple came by, and the man, who I'd seen quite a few times before when I'm protesting, mentioned how he hadn't seen me in a while, and he was concerned and wondered what happened to me. He was worried that I might have got COVID, or he was worried that I was just paranoid about COVID, and so on and so forth. And so I told him what happened. I told him that essentially I'd been under court conditions until Friday, and now that I no longer have any court conditions preventing me from being here, I'm back. And he welcomed me back. He gave me a mazel tov, which was quite nice, in the wake of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I didn't know he was Jewish until he said Mazel Tov. You know, maybe he's not Jewish. Maybe he just said Mazel Tov, you know, for whatever reason. But you know, when someone says Mazel Tov, it's usually because they're Jewish and they're wishing you blessings or good luck. So that was very nice. And he basically told me to keep up the good work, as did his wife, I presume, a female partner. You know, they were actually very concerned about the anti-democratic nature of this. He was concerned about attacks on our rights and liberties. He recognized what happened as an attack on democratic rights and freedoms, as I think most people would if they look at the facts. So that was very nice. Very nice welcome back from a man in particular who had seen my protest, you know, quite a few times before and had generally supported it, as most people do. I will say that most members of the public that I have any interaction with in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal are supportive of this protest. I would say 1 in 10, or at most 2 in 10, express opposition to the protest. And often these people are just idiots who think like they're, you know, it's just not done to protest in front of a church and that kind of thing. And they're basically people who have little or no respect for civil rights and freedoms, you know. So if they want to be negative, 1 or 2 out of 10, no big deal. You know, I've got 8 or 9 out of 10 supporting me on rights and everything. So that's that. I was in the middle of a sort of monologue when the camera overheated. I'm actually just going to check and make sure it's still running. Got a car coming around the corner here. Because it did overheat. I guess I could be doing this, well, not for nothing, but if it's not recording, we're okay from the look of it. Yes, we're okay. So we'll go back to the monologue. So anyway, you know, as I have done in the past, I got a picket sign here leaned up against the fire hydrant, another one leaned up against the lamppost. This is city property, so I'm not trespassing on the church's property. I'm standing on city property, 3 feet back from the sidewalk. I've always tried to act within the law in terms of my protests, never deliberately, you know, gone out of my way to break the law. Always try to work within it, even when the law, in my opinion, is not really just. But I've still tried to work within the system, you know, to, you know, like I got my conditions reduced and so forth. So I didn't just go out of my way and breach conditions, as Judge Dennis Kaliatsis tried to pretend. I actually, you know, got my conditions reduced to allow me to go back to city council meetings in the public questions period. And ask questions, including questions about Sue Montgomery. I just couldn't ask questions directly to her, but my understanding of my conditions was such that I could ask questions about Sue Montgomery's behavior to other politicians, to the whole council, without breaching my conditions, and that's what I did. And to be honest, it was not my intention to do that on the first time back, which was in March of 2018, the March 2018 City Council meeting. My original intention had been to ask Valerie Plante a question regarding SPVM repression of civil rights and freedoms, including, of course, the repression they've done in terms of my own protest, but also many other protests in Montreal. But what happened is on March 18th of 2018, I was protesting after having my conditions reduced to allow me to protest again, when Sue Montgomery came along, walked right up to me, took a photo of me, called 911, or maybe she called the police station number, I don't know, but she called from her cell phone, you know, accusing me of breach of conditions, even though the conditions had been reduced to allow me to be there. And then she proceeded to kick and throw these picket signs into the street. She kicked and threw all of my picket signs into the street and the bike path over there. And then after I put some of them back up, she threw them again. And I have video evidence of all that because I record my protest because of bad behavior on the part of Unitarians, because of false complaints to the police by Unitarians, because of SPVM interactions. You know, I want my interactions with the police to be recorded, so we have a record of what happened. It's kind of like my own body cam, if you want. I will say, actually, that the police who came on March 18th behaved very, very professionally, in my opinion. No complaints about how they conducted themselves. And they actually determined that I was not in breach of my conditions. So that was a good SPVM intervention. Unfortunately, I've had some rather incompetent, authoritarian run-ins with SPVM cops who did not respect my charter rights and freedoms and basically tried to suppress the protest in one way or another. So that's that. Not sure if I'm forgetting something, but I'm back, resuming my protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy views outside the Unitarian Church of Montreal, following my acquittal on Friday from the breach of conditions charges, which had kept the bail conditions on me. So that's it. You know, that's 3 full years of not being able to protest. Oh yes, one thing I forgot to mention is today's sermon is about justice. It's that's what I was talking about in the initial video. So today's sermon, I believe the title is oh, what is it? Liberating Our Theological Imagination. But it's about justice. Well, I can assure you that the Montreal Unitarians, including Reverend Diane Rollard, and top-level leadership of the Unitarian Universalist Church at the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston, have made a total mockery of Unitarian Universalist theology, Unitarian Universalist principles and ideals, in bringing trumped-up criminal charges against me or threatening me with criminal charges. To the best of my knowledge, the Unitarian Universalist Association has never actually had me charged with criminal charges, but I have heard from a reliable source that the leadership of the Unitarian Church of Montreal was being pressured by the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston to suppress my protest, use the police to do it if necessary, and the Unitarian Universalist Association in Boston did in fact threaten me with criminal charges in a cease and desist demand letter in June of 2012. They threatened to have me prosecuted for the criminal act of blasphemous libel for blogging about such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers, not to mention Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers and prominent Unitarian Universalist lay leaders. So that was a threat of a criminal charge by the Unitarian Universalist Association. I'm still waiting for them to apologize for that. I'm still waiting for them to formally withdraw that false accusation. But anyway, here we are in front of the Unitarian Church of Montreal while Reverend Diane Rollard is inside delivering a sermon about justice. It'll be very interesting to see what she has to say in that sermon. But I can assure you that Reverend Diane Rollard, most or if not all other Montreal Unitarians, some more than others, are either complicit in the abusive misuse of the SPVM police force and the criminal justice system to suppress my protest against clergy abuse outside the church, and some individual members at minimum have brought trumped up criminal charges against me, including Sue Montgomery, former justice reporter for the Gazette, who therefore had quite a lot of knowledge about how the police and court system works, who no doubt had friends in the police and the criminal justice system, who certainly had friends and colleagues in the media. Sue Montgomery brought trumped up criminal charges against me, mainly, well, at least partly to keep me out of city council meetings to ask questions about her unethical behavior, but also to shut down this protest. There was no question that part of Sue Montgomery's motivation for having me charged with criminal harassment was to shut down this protest. So here we are, we're back. All the Unitarian Church of Montreal, all Sue Montgomery succeeded in doing is delaying the inevitable. Yes, they shut down my protest for 3 years, but nothing's resolved, nothing's changed. Everything's pretty much where it was at 3 years ago in terms of my protest, which will be resumed. Because of the COVID situation, the congregants aren't attending. I'm just going to double check this is still running. Yes, we're still recording. Okay, so nobody's actually attending this service at the Unitarian Church of Montreal this morning, or maybe just a few people. It's being recorded on Zoom or some other, video conferencing thing. but I decided it was worthwhile protesting just to reassert my charter rights and freedoms to engage in peaceful public protest, just to make it very, very clear to the Unitarian Church of Montreal and the Unitarian Universalist religious community more generally that I will not easily allow them to trample on my charter rights and freedoms. I will not allow them to abusively misuse the SPVM police force and the criminal justice system to suppress my charter rights and freedoms to protest against Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse, which includes, but is by no means limited to, such despicable crimes as pedophilia and rape committed by Unitarian Universalist ministers, Unitarian Universalist Sunday school teachers, and prominent Unitarian Universalist lay leaders. I'm just going to check the recording time again. So yes, we still have a couple minutes left before there's a hiccup. So we got about 1 minute left here. And I think we're going to wrap up this protest. I might continue a bit longer. But I think I've said plenty. And essentially we're back in business, as it were, in terms of our protest against clergy abuse, cover-up and denial of clergy abuse, various perversions of justice. That's what this sign's all about. I mean, this sign pre-existed being accused of criminal harassment by Sue Montgomery. This was about previous perversions of justice, including the false accusation of blasphemous libel that the Unitarian Universalist Association brought against me in June of 2012. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up with that. I just got a little bit of time left on this, but I think this segment is ending. We may start another one.